Breaking news, a battle of billionaires over the border wall. In a rare press conference today, one of the richest men in the world, the Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim, offering to negotiate with President Trump on Mexico's behalf. Trump's latest threat against Mexico, of course, is a massive tax on imports. Out front now, billionaire businessman John Paul DeJoria. He is the co-founder of Patrón Spirits, which is produced in Mexico, like all tequila, and of Paul Mitchell Systems. John Paul, thanks so much for being with me. Our big number tonight, 20%, because that is the number, the tax, that President Trump is again threatening to put on imports from Mexico to pay for the wall. You make and then export Patrón from Mexico.
Correct.
If the tax comes into effect, what happens?
If it comes into effect, unfortunately, with all due respect, the Mexican government doesn't pay for it, the U.S. consumer does. If the tax comes across, we have to raise our prices. We can't make the tequila in the United States. Our quality tequila has to be made down in Mexico by law. Can't make it here. So it's passed on to our distributors, onto the retailer, which will pass it on to the consumer. So if that happens, will people stop buying Patrón? Probably not, because people want to treat themselves to the quality of a Patrón. But will it affect the Mexican government? I think it's going to affect the United States citizen more than the U.S. government. I really, really do, or the Mexican government.
And you're saying what? For Patrón, just in your individual case, it's what, a few dollars a bottle more with just that tax?
It'll be a few dollars, yeah, it'll be a few dollars a bottle more with the tax, but the consumer in the United States is going to be paying for it, not the Mexican government. So I think we have to really take a different look at that.
So when you talk about that, okay, if that's what it means for Patrón. We also buy from Mexico auto parts, cars, trucks, and a lot of oil. It's the fourth biggest supplier of oil to the United States.
Yep.
Trump was actually asked about the point you're making, John Paul. He said the tax, whether it would just be passed along to consumers here in America. And I want to play for you his answer, get your reaction. Here he is.
Sure.
Well, I think some of it may get passed along, but it also creates jobs. So I'm not against something like that, but with respect to Mexico, something else could happen which would be much more positive for both Mexico and the United States.
So he said there, John Paul, I think some of it may get passed along, but it also creates jobs. Fair?
Well, you got to really, not quite. We got to really think this one out a little bit, because oil, for example, and food is a commodity. If you raise the price by 20% because of whatever taxation there is, the consumer at the other end is going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it across the line. So I think they may want to think that one out a little bit. You're going to be paying more for vegetables. You're going to be paying more for gas and oil that comes from Mexico. And if such a large percentage that we use comes from Mexico, it only makes sense that the oil and gas companies have to charge more money. So the U.S. consumer is going to pay for it. And, you know, Mr. Trump is a smart fellow, and I think Mr. Trump wants to do what's right, but I do think that they have to think this out a little bit more. Now, when it comes to renegotiating maybe a trade pact, that's different. I know when I ship into Mexico for Paul Mitchell hair care products, we have a duty of 16%. So we have to charge a little bit more money to the Mexican people. They pay it because of the quality of the product. So going both ways, it definitely affects one another. It does. But I know that going down there, we can charge 16% going down.
Which I think is actually a really important point, because people may conflate the wall with NAFTA itself. And you have a lot of issues with what he's proposed. But right now you're saying, as part of NAFTA, when they sell here, there's no tariff, right? That's why he's talking about putting one on. But when you go down there, you're paying right now 16% tariff to go into Mexico.
That is correct.
And that's part of NAFTA.
That is correct. Yeah, that's correct. There's no question about it. But going back to Mexico paying for the wall, the way it's stated right now, and I'm sure they're going to review this and change it a little bit, the U.S. consumer pays for it, not Mexico. But I think they're going to look at it maybe a little more seriously and figure out what may really work and what may not work. And I don't think that one across the line at 20% tax is going to be advantageous to our people or jobs. It's not going to affect jobs, as far as I know, one bit, unless he only charged people that were U.S. manufacturers that have a facility down there to ship it right back to the United States. Maybe that's different. I don't know. Maybe it'll equalize what money they're saving so that they'll hire more people in this nation. I don't know. But when it comes to things like products that are made in Mexico that can't be made anywhere else, or commodities like oil and food and things of that nature, it's American citizens that pay for it. They may want to rethink that one out just a little bit.
All right. John Paul DeJoria, thank you very much.